Ladies and gentlemen, tonight I want to share a truth that could change your life if you're ready to hear it. Men can't resist women who detach. Now, when I say detach, I don't mean you don't care. I don't mean you close your heart off. I mean you stand tall in who you are. You love yourself so deeply, so unapologetically, that you don't have to grip or beg or chase after anyone. Detachment is not indifferent, it's self-respect. There is a profound difference between closing your heart and protecting your soul. Too many people believe that when you step back from chasing, when you refuse to beg for love, when you allow something to leave without crumbling, it must mean you've stopped caring, that you have become cold, that you are numb. But nothing could be further from the truth. True detachment isn't about a hardened heart, it's about a strong spirit. It's about understanding that your value is not tied to who stays, who chooses you, or who fails to see your worth. Detachment means you love sometimes with your whole being, but you refuse to lose yourself in the process. It means you can care for someone deeply and still choose yourself when necessary. You can offer loyalty, tenderness, and kindness, but you do not allow anyone else's behavior to dictate your own self-worth. You know who you are with or without their validation. That is the highest form of self-respect, loving without attachment to outcome, giving your heart without tying your soul to someone else's decisions. When you detach, you don't love less. If anything, you love more, purely because you are not trying to control, possess, or manipulate. You're not forcing love to stay where it doesn't belong. You're not gripping with desperation, hoping that love will fill an empty place inside you. You are already whole. You are already complete. Love becomes a gift you offer freely, not a transaction you bargain for out of fear of being alone. Self-respect whispers to you in those quiet moments when your heart aches and you still choose to let go. It reminds you that no matter how much you want something, a person, a relationship, a dream, if it requires you to betray your peace, it is too expensive. It teaches you that you are not here to convince someone of your worth. You are not here to audition for love. You are not here to bend yourself into shape to fit into spaces that were never meant for you. When you detach, you finally trust. You trust life. You trust that what is meant for you will find you effortlessly, naturally, without you having to chase it down. You trust that your spirit knows what it needs. You trust that you can love deeply without clinging, that you can say goodbye without bitterness, that you can feel the pain of letting go without losing your softness. It is easy to confuse detachment with giving up, but in truth, detachment is a sacred act of faith. It is an understanding that no matter how beautiful something appears, if it costs your dignity, if it demands your silence, if it requires you to abandon your intuition, then it is not meant to stay. It is having the courage to walk away, even when your heart wants to stay. It is having the strength to choose yourself, even when loneliness knocks at your door. There is an undeniable power in a woman or a man who is willing to detach with grace, not out of anger, not out of pride, but out of deep, unshakable love for themselves. There is a magnetism in someone who says, I love you, but I love me more. Not selfishly, but sacredly. Because they understand that every relationship they will ever have is a reflection of the relationship they have with themselves. Self-respect does not scream, it does not beg, it does not demand. Self-respect quietly closes the door and trusts that anything that truly belongs will never require you to chase it. It stands still and says, I know who I am. I know what I deserve. And I am willing to wait or to walk alone until what aligns with my soul finds its way to me. Detachment is not the absence of love. It is the presence of wisdom. It is the mature understanding that love should never require you to lose yourself. That the right people will never ask you to sacrifice your self-respect in exchange for their attention. They will honor it. They will cherish it. They will be drawn to it like moths to a flame. And so when you choose detachment, you are not choosing to feel less. You are choosing to feel deeper, feel truer, feel freer. You are choosing to live from a place of fullness, not emptiness. You are choosing to protect your heart, not because you are afraid to love, but because you know the value of loving yourself first. A detached woman radiates power in a way that words often fail to describe. There is something magnetic about her presence, something undeniably strong yet soft at the same time. She does not have to announce herself. She does not have to prove her worth. It moves with her in the way she carries herself, in the way she speaks only when she has something true to say, in the way she chooses herself over and over again without needing applause for it. She understands that true power is quiet. It's not loud, aggressive, or desperate. It's not in chasing, begging, or holding on tightly to things or people who don't align with her spirit. Her power is in her calm, in her peace, in her willingness to let the world come to her rather than running frantically after it. She knows that anything she has to force will eventually drain her, and she is no longer willing to bleed for anything less than she deserves. A detached woman is rooted. She is anchored in herself. She has built a home within her own soul, a place that no storm can shake. Love may come, and she will welcome it with open arms. Success may come, and she will celebrate it with gratitude. But she does not cling to these things because she knows her spirit is not defined by what she can hold on to. She understands that people, moments, even dreams are like rivers. They flow, they change, they move, and she chooses to flow with them rather than against them. This detachment does not mean she loves less. It means she loves better. It means she can hold someone close without gripping them tightly in fear. It means she can give her heart fully while knowing that if the time comes to let go, she will survive, she will heal, she will thrive. Her love is not born of need, it is born of abundance. She is not looking for someone to complete her. She is looking for someone who can meet her in the wholeness she already possesses. People feel her energy without her having to say a word. They feel the freedom in her spirit, the wildness in her soul. They feel the quiet confidence that she carries like a crown. She doesn't compete. She doesn't compare. She doesn't diminish herself to make others comfortable. Her self-worth is not tied to someone's inability to see her light. She shines anyway. She moves forward anyway. She trusts herself anyway. A detached woman has tasted the beauty of solitude and does not fear being alone. She knows that her company is valuable. She understands that time spent with herself is not empty time. It is a sacred investment. So she does not rush to fill the silence. She does not cling to distractions. She honors the pauses, the spaces between, the stillness that others often run from. It is in these quiet places that her power is renewed, that her strength is sharpened, that her spirit is nourished. When she walks into a room, there is no desperation in her eyes. There is no hunger to be chosen. She has already chosen herself. And that choice makes her irresistible. She becomes the woman who inspires others, not by demanding their attention, but by commanding it through the effortless way she loves herself. She teaches others how to treat her by the way she treats herself, with kindness, with patience, with unwavering respect. Her detachment makes her free, free to love without fear, free to give without expectation, free to walk away when her soul whispers that it's time, free to say yes when it feels right and no when it doesn't, to be fully herself, without apology, without explanation. A detached woman knows that what is real will never require her to sacrifice her peace. She trusts that what belongs to her will stay effortlessly, and what isn't meant for her will fall away, no matter how tightly she might try to hold on. She does not beg life for scraps. She waits for the feast that is already written in her destiny. Her power is not a show. It is not something she puts on when she feels threatened. It is woven into the fabric of who she is. It is the way she wakes up every morning with hope still alive in her heart. It is the way she lays her head down at night, knowing she honored herself today, even if no one else noticed. It is the way she moves through this world with a heart wide open, but with hands willing to let go. A detached woman radiates power because she is not afraid to lose anything that is not meant for her. She does not fear endings. She trusts in beginnings. She trusts herself. She knows that everything she needs is already inside her, and everything that is meant for her is already finding its way home. Space creates desire, and yet so often we are taught to fear space. We are taught to rush, to fill every gap, to close every distance. But space, in its most powerful and profound form, is not something to fear. It is something to embrace. Space is the fertile ground where desire grows, the silence where longing speaks loudest, and the distance that brings two souls closer than they could ever be if they were always within reach. When we allow space, we create room for things to breathe. We create room for connection to deepen. We create room for longing to develop, not out of desperation, but out of a natural, magnetic attraction. In the absence of constant contact, of perpetual closeness, desire begins to emerge in its truest, most authentic form. It becomes something that draws people toward each other, not because they are clinging, but because they are choosing. This space is not about distance in the sense of separation. It is not about pushing someone away or cutting ties. Rather, it is about allowing space for a person to grow, for them to become the best version of themselves, and for the relationship to become stronger, not because of the moments you spend together, but because of the moments you spend apart. Space allows you to see the value in what you have. It gives you the opportunity to miss what you might otherwise take for granted. In relationships, whether romantic, familial, or even friendships, we often fall into the trap of constant closeness. We think that the more we give of ourselves, the more we are available, the more we sacrifice our needs for the sake of the other, the stronger the bond will be. But this constant closeness can often suffocate desire. It can create a sense of complacency, a feeling that nothing is special anymore because it is always there, always present, all available. When everything is easy, desire fades into the background. We forget to appreciate what we have because we are never without it. Space, however, brings appreciation. It brings mystery. It allows the mind to wander, to wonder, to dream. When we are apart from someone for a while, we are given the chance to remember what made them special in the first place. We begin to feel the absence, and in that absence, we realize how much we want them. When someone is always around, their presence can become expected, and desire can feel like an obligation. But space, when used wisely, lets desire grow organically. It lets it become something that we crave, something we reach for, not because we need it, but because we want it. This applies not only to romantic relationships, but to everything in life. We need space from our own routines, our own daily tasks, to make time for what truly fills our hearts. We need space from the noise of the world to hear our own inner voice. We need space from the constant chatter of others to listen to what our soul is telling us. In that space, we find our true desires. Not the desires that are shaped by external forces, but the ones that come from deep within us. Space also creates a natural tension, a pull that draws us towards something. In relationships, that tension is the very thing that keeps desire alive. It is the space between two people that makes them long for each other's touch, for each other's presence. It is the distance that allows them to feel the excitement of coming together again. Without that space, there is no contrast. There is nothing to make us feel the sweet anticipation of reunion. It's in the moments apart that we discover how much we truly value the other person, how much we yearn to be close again. Space gives us the opportunity to reflect on what we truly want, what we truly desire, and what we are willing to give up in order to have it. When we're always in each other's faces, we forget what it means to choose. Desire is a choice, and in order to make that choice, we need space to recognize that we have the power to choose. Space allows us to see the bigger picture, to see what we truly want out of life, out of our relationships, out of ourselves. In the end, space is not about pulling away or creating distance for the sake of it. It is about creating room for desire to flourish, for relationships to deepen, and for connections to strengthen. It is about honoring yourself and others enough to give the gift of space, the space to grow, to miss, to appreciate, and to desire. In a world that moves fast and constantly pulls us toward each other, space is the quiet force that lets love, longing, and desire bloom. It is the space between us that creates the deepest connections, the strongest bonds, and the most meaningful desires. I hope this piece captures the essence of space, creates desire for you. Would you like a more poetic or dramatic version as well for a particular use like performance or social media? Feel free to let me know. Emotional independence is irresistible because it emanates a quiet strength that others cannot ignore. It is a force that pulls people toward you, not through dependence or desperation, but through the serene power of self-sufficiency. When a person, especially a woman, stands emotionally independent, it is not about being distant or detached from the world, but about being deeply connected to oneself. Emotional independence means that you do not look to others to define your worth, to fill your emotional needs, or to validate your feelings. You are whole within yourself, and that inner completeness is magnetic in a way that few other things can be. In a world that often teaches us to seek approval from others, to find our happiness in relationships, or to chase external validation, emotional independence feels like a breath of fresh air. It is the ability to stand firm in your truth, to feel secure in your own skin without needing the reassurance of the outside world. It's the understanding that your happiness is not dependent on anyone else's actions or opinions. You are not someone who will crumble when someone else doesn't meet your expectations or doesn't give you the attention you think you deserve. Instead, you are someone who walks through life with an inner peace, knowing that your emotional well-being is something you control. Emotional independence is about the freedom to love, but not from a place of need. You give your heart freely, without strings attached, because you understand that love should be an offering, not a transaction. You don't need someone else to make you feel loved because you have already cultivated that love within yourself. This kind of love is powerful because it is unconditional. It doesn't ask for anything in return. It simply exists, pure and untainted, flowing from a source that is endless, your own heart. When you are emotionally independent, you radiate a certain confidence that others find irresistible. It's a confidence that comes from knowing your worth and understanding that you don't have to settle for anything less than what aligns with your highest value. This self-assuredness is magnetic because it doesn't need to boast. It doesn't need to shout or demand attention. It simply is. People are drawn to your energy because they sense that you are whole, that you are not looking to anyone to complete you, but rather to complement the completeness that you already possess. This emotional strength is empowering to those around you. It gives them permission to stand in their own power too. They see your independence and realize that they don't need to rely on others for their own happiness. They don't need to lean on anyone to feel validated. Your emotional independence inspires them to take charge of their own emotional landscape. And that's where true connection happens. Relationships rooted in emotional independence are healthy because they allow both people to maintain their individual identities, their sense of self, while also coming together to create something beautiful and meaningful. Moreover, emotional independence allows you to navigate life with resilience. Life will inevitably throw challenges your way, and when you are emotionally independent, you can face them head on without losing your balance. You don't need someone else to lift you up when you fall because you already know how to pick yourself up. You have learned the art of self-care, of self-soothing, of finding comfort in your own company. And because of this inner strength, when you do lean on someone, it is not out of desperation, but out of choice. You are able to give and receive love freely, knowing that your emotional stability is not dependent on anyone else's actions or decisions. EOP are irresistibly drawn to emotional independence because it signifies self-respect. When you are emotionally independent, you respect yourself enough to set healthy boundaries. You know your limits and you honor them. You do not let others cross them because you understand that doing so would compromise your own well-being. And when you respect yourself in this way, others begin to respect you too. They recognize your strength and your ability to stand firm in your own truth. And that is incredibly appealing. It is a reminder to them that they too are capable of standing strong, of choosing their own path, and of finding their own emotional fulfillment. Emotional independence is ultimately irresistible because it is the embodiment of self-love and self-respect. It is the foundation of a fulfilled and peaceful life. When you are emotionally independent, you no longer seek approval or validation from others. You don't need anyone to complete you because you are already whole. And that wholeness, that peace, that confidence is what makes you truly irresistible. Not because you are perfect, but because you are perfectly yourself. Detachment protects peace in a way that nothing else can. In a world that constantly demands our attention, our energy, and our emotions, the ability to detach is a rare and powerful skill. It is not a sign of indifference or coldness. Rather, it is the most profound act of self-care. Detachment is the conscious decision to protect our inner peace by not allowing external forces, whether they be people, situations, or emotions, to disturb our tranquility. It is the wisdom to know when to step back, to release the grip on things beyond our control, and to cultivate a sense of calm within ourselves. regardless of the chaos that may surround us. When we learn to detach, we create a buffer between ourselves and the outside world. We learn to observe rather than react. We understand that our emotions are our own, and we are not at the mercy of every passing thought or feeling. Detachment allows us to see things from a distance, to gain perspective on situations without getting swept up in them. It is the ability to step outside the emotional storm and witness it from a place of calm, understanding that our peace is not negotiable. In relationships, detachment is a powerful tool for maintaining peace. It does not mean shutting others out or refusing to connect, but rather understanding that the only thing we can truly control is our response to others. By detaching from the need for approval, validation, or constant reassurance, we free ourselves from the emotional roller coaster that comes with seeking external sources of peace. We recognize that our worth is not defined by the opinions or actions of others, and we no longer give them the power to disrupt our inner harmony. When we detach from the desire to control others or the outcome of situations, we allow peace to flow freely in our lives.